then we've got the change casualties. Change casualties are fascinating because when you are a change casualty, you've got to be able to move out of that change casualty status. And it's very easy to see change casualties. They're all around us, aren't they? We see them all the time. Change casualties have very interesting way of being able to pick them up. There are the victims of change. The victims will say, for instance, they'll say, look, I'm sorry, boss, my report was late because the printer was broken. You know, it's not my fault, it's the printer's fault. Or I was late today because the traffic was too heavy. You know, it's the traffic's fault. We become victims all the time. Sorry, family, you want to take your family away to England. I'm sorry, family, we can't go to England this year because the exchange rate is too big. It's the exchange rate's fault. We do it all the time. You know, my company fired me because they didn't need widget makers. It's the company's fault. People become victims so often that they get into the habit of becoming a victim. People are habitual victims. Look in your own organisation. Every single meeting you ever have, somebody will have some victim statement. It's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. The problem is, of course, by giving away responsibility to other people, you're actually giving away your ability to respond. That's what's happening. You're saying, my report was late because the printer was broken. It means that your report will always be dependent upon a piece of machinery. What you've got to do and learn to do is take back responsibility. You stop being a victim. And the words you say here are fundamental in this process. So you start to say things like, I'm sorry, boss, my report was late because I was cutting it too fine. Because, you know, if you'd done your report a day earlier, you could have taken that disk to any computer and printed it. It wasn't the printer's fault, you were just cutting it too fine. I was late for the meeting because I left late. I'm sure there was traffic, but there's always going to be traffic. You left late. Once you start to take responsibility now, then you have your ability to respond. You can say, my report was late because I was cutting it too fine, but next month, or next week, or next day, however many reports you have to write, next time I have to write a report, I'm not going to be cutting it so fine, I'm going to do it earlier, and that won't be dependent upon the printer. I was late today, it was my fault, tomorrow I'll leave earlier. Once you take back responsibility, then you can start to fix it. And that's what the victims, identifying yourself as a victim or people in your team, you've got to share them with this. You will always have victims. Change casualties are often victims. Change casualties are often also the doom and gloom merchants. You see them everywhere, doom and gloom everywhere, and every time they open their mouths, more doomier and gloomier stuff comes out. It's horrific. And they will be the people, they're merchants. You know the doom and gloom merchants? They are salespeople. They want to sell you their doom and gloom. They're not happy to be doomy and gloomy themselves. They want you to be doomy and gloomy as well, you know. And it spreads, if you're not careful, it spreads like wildfire. You've got to try and stop this doom and gloom if you can. Here in South Africa, we've got this lovely pastime. I don't know if you noticed. But every time, I like to go to parties, you know, and every time you go to a party, I'm a great people watcher at parties, you know, which is why I don't get invited so often, I guess. But you know, every time you go to a party, you see lots of people, they come to a party with their best doom and gloom story, you know, metaphorically under their arm here. And they go into the party, the first thing they do is look around for somebody to pounce on to tell them their best doom and gloom story. You know the one about your next door neighbour, mother-in-law in Johannesburg who got held up at gunpoint and their car stolen. We've all got a story like this. And we go to a party with this story, so we pounce on somebody with a story. And they listen to the story for about 10 seconds. Then they stop listening altogether because they realise that they've got a better story than you have. So they stop listening to yours. All they're trying to do now is they're waiting for an opportunity to tell them your story, their story. So they say, hey, that's a good story, but you should hear this one. And then they get into their best doom and gloom story. And you listen for 10 seconds and you realise, of course, that they're quite right. And their doom and gloom story is worse than yours, or better, depending upon your perspective, you know. So what do? Well, you make something up, of course, so that you've got something even better to tell them. And when they take a break, you tell them. And we have this bouncing backwards and forwards like ping pong about really nasty doom and gloom stories. No wonder it drags us all down. What we must try and do is always have a good news story. When you go anywhere, have a good news story to tell everybody. A good news story, not a doomy and gloomy story, a good news story. So that you can share your good news with everybody. And even though it might not change them, it'll make you feel good. And that's the difference between a change casualty and a change winner. If you're feeling good, you're much more likely to be a change winner. I publish every week an article called Richard's Review, which is an email article for free. Each week it comes out with some management or sales or leadership technique. Just a short page, half an A4 page or something, nothing very onerous, just a new technique. Or old, really, just to remind us of what to do. And each week comes out with that a good news story as well. Right at the bottom of that, there's a good news story. And do you know what I get most response from? It's the good news stories. Everybody loves it. I got a super letter from the Navy News last week in Simonstown there, asking me would I mind if they republish my good news stories, each week. And I think, great, fantastic. If we can start to filter this good news out, and there's so much of it around, that we just need to be keeping ourselves buoyant and pumped up, and those doom and gloom urgents are not going to do that. We need to, however. The next type of people who change casualties are the what-ifs. You get these a lot. What if it goes wrong? What if the wheels drop off? I remember years ago when we changed politics here, 94. A fascinating process of change happened through all that process. And one of the things that happened soon after we got Nelson Mandela on board, and everybody prior to that was frightened, bloodbath and all that stuff never happened. Great. And then Nelson Mandela came on board, and everybody was amazed. He did a damn good job. It was just fantastic. Of course, some people were saying, well, I told you so. It's bound to, inevitably, what a background, Nonetheless, most of us were amazed. He did a fabulous job. And but then there were always the what-ifs, weren't there? What if he dies? Well, I promise you he's going to. So that's the way of the world. Hopefully not soon, but he will die. What if he dies, they're all saying. And then, of course, what happens? He moves out, and then Tabo and Becky takes over. Also does a brilliant job. Fantastic job. So there's always going to be the what-if people. But you've just got to say, when they say, what if the wheels drop off? You say, if the wheels drop off, we'll make a plan. When we get there, we're going to fix it, because the change winners and the change makers will be there fixing it. The change casualties will be sitting back saying, I told you so. But the change winners will be right up there. And the last group in this changing environment is the yes buts. The yes buts have always got something negative to share. Always. Yeah, I remember in a group a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about BMW here in South Africa, because they've made some tremendous changes over the last 10 years. And last year, BMW were voted worldwide as producing the best 3 Series BMWs in the world. Did you know that? Amazing, fantastic results of BMW. And I was sharing this with a group, and somebody in the back of the group said, "Yes, but you know about Volkswagen, don't you?" And there's always somebody there, always somebody who wants to share the bad news. Now, I hadn't even heard the bad news he was sharing, so I'm not going to tell it to you either, because I don't know whether it's true or not. But the yes buts don't have to have any proof. So long as it's bad news, they will continue to share it with everybody. But there's a little bit of yes but in all of us. There's something we need to... For instance, when I said just a minute ago, Nelson Mandela was great, and then Tabo and Becky came on and also did a great job, I wonder how many of us said, yes, but... and then remembered something that he screwed up with, the AIDS problems or other things that he has had issues with, one way or another. But that's in us, you see. The yes but is in us. We've just got to catch ourselves doing it. When we are talking about positive things, stay positive. There is inside of us a little bit of yes buts. We've just got to catch ourselves being negative. Change casualties will remain negative. Change winners will see the positive side, always, and drive down that positive side. Change makers are driving the thing right at the front. 3 different types of person in change. Each one of them in your changing dynamic will happen. You've got to identify who's where. Identify yourself as well, and make sure we can drive ourselves on to be change winners, which is the target.